especially with all of you having been in the education sector for so long, we really would like to know, because there's so much noise on social media and otherwise, that the education needs to change. There are parts of the education system that needs complete overhaul. So we see it every single day. So based on your experience and based on your journey throughout your personal life and your experiences, what are the key changes that you have seen taking place in the last 10 years or so in your career? And what further changes would you implement to make the education system as we know it is today a more wholesome and an immersive experience for the young adults moving forward?
Yeah, I love this question. And I worked in higher education for 10 plus years, teaching social media, marketing, personal branding classes. But I recently just resigned from my full-time teaching position. And I see myself still as an educator, but I'm teaching on a different stage. And as I'm building my own school, which is a classroom without walls, and I discovered there are so many alternative schools that are trying to disrupt the century-old system from the outside. So what I see as the pattern, which is also what my own school is based on, is almost like a hybrid model, like a combination of online learning with in-person enrichment. So different types of enrichment, sometimes it's more internship-based and definitely a lot more holistic and has an element of project-based learning, hands-on learning, and connecting with the professionals from the industry who are not only teaching by the book, but they also have the social proof, practical experience to back up their academic degree. I think education is an inside-out journey, but oftentimes as students and as human beings, even adults, we pursue education as an outside-in journey. When we were kids, our parents, like at least my parents in China, many parents in China, we told our children, you need to study this, you need to study that. But I think true education needs to start from the inside. What is the problem that we are so passionate about? What is something that we are trying to solve? So in that regard, I think the social emotional element of learning is going to become more and more important, being highlighted in our educational system.
Very well said there. Especially regarding the outside in and the inside out aspect that you mentioned, it's so important. This brings me to something which we have discussed in the past, that each and every one of us has brilliance within us, right?
Absolutely.
We just have to find that, an iota or a seed of that from within us and basically bring it out to show its light, to others around us. So I think it's beautiful what you're doing at this present moment,
And I think our educational system needs to honor the individuality in every single kid instead of trying to force them to be similar, to be the same as each other. I see in my own students, our educational system is training our children to become really obedient. But to become a leader, we have enough people who are so obedient, but we need more people who are critical thinkers, creative thinkers to challenge the system and to even create a new system.
Very well said. And I can see actually Professor Gary, with a smile on his face. So very nicely actually going into him. We would love to get your views on that, Gary.
Well, if I just go back to what I said about critical thinking, creativity, I think that schools have done a lot better job in actually helping to nurture those type of schools than they might have done, say, 40 years ago. And I think that's a change. But we've seen schools actually work more on developing creativity, teamwork, collaboration, and trying to take account of individual differences. But what I do see as a major barrier to that, and I've written something recently about that, is that the way our schools are structured will never achieve that level of creativity or critical thinking that we want to, or even catering, or as I said, honouring the individual. The way our schools are structured in many situations is that the classes of children around 6-year-olds, that's around their chronological age, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds. And the assumption if you're a 6, that you will be at a particular level. Now, this is something we've known for many years, yet we've still kept children in classes according to age group, and we've given them a teacher and there might have been 20 students or 30 students. The reality is, if we want to do all the things that I was talking about, we really need to have people in classes of small groups of various ages, and then being able to respond to individuals' needs. You cannot, as a teacher, respond to any individual needs if you've got 20 or 30 children or students in a class, and you're really kidding yourself if you think you can do that. And teachers have got this enormous job of being loaded up with a large number of students, and parents asking for individual programs, but realistically, it's just not possible. The other thing I'd like to see as we move forward is I'd like to see our schools develop a lot more entrepreneurial learning as well. Many schools talk about being the centres where they teach business skills, but I don't think they go far enough in actually catering for our next wave of entrepreneurs who will be in demand, not only in countries like Australia, but right across the globe. And just like we have schools in many countries that are music specialist schools, or we even have aviation specialist schools, I think we need specialist type schools for budding entrepreneurs.
And I'd like to actually sort of request your opinion on one point. As you were discussing, I mean, there are specialist schools to a certain extent which focus on inquiry-based learning, etc. in most countries, but they can be prohibitively expensive. Completely agree that there are obviously ways in which the person or the students don't need to be sort of put into one particular category or a box based on just their age, because everyone has different stages of learning to a certain extent. But don't you think that is going to be really, really expensive moving forward? If you have, let's say, for example, if you have one teacher per 5 students or per 10 students, what can governments do to a certain extent to help education system, create this kind of a new wave